The guy that got fired at Google is making it very plain how things operated out there. He's essentially saying the same thing. He's been interviewed by a couple people now. We have that to play off of. And do you remember when L. Rushmore, earlier this week said, ladies at Google, don't get offended here. Don't waste your time becoming social justice warriors. Focus on the money. Google is loaded. You're being discriminated against. They're making it plain. And now's the time to go for the money. In fact, we have audio soundbite number 5. This is kind of charge that just sends leftists up the tree. That they're unfair, that they discriminate on the basis of gender. Ladies, tell Google to prove it to you that the guy who wrote the memo is wrong. What you go for the money. Tell them you want money. Tell them you want raises. Tell Google to prove it. Don't join the protest march and start throwing underwears and bras. Just be. They're reeling right now. Hit them. And today, Stuart Varney talking with Judge Andrew Napolitano, the Munster, about a possible lawsuit against Google. The Stuart Varney School, Silicon Valley will be taken on in class action lawsuit claiming gender discrimination. Who was it? Who was it that first suggested they do this? It was I. And here is Eddie and I. Don't waste time on the protest march. Don't do all the traditional things that feminazis would have you do. Just go for the money, Google. Now, just to give you a taste here, the Google employee that wrote the man claiming to be the greatest defenders of First Amendment free speech. These are people claiming to be the bulwark and the saviors. And yet, if you don't say they want to hear or what they agree with, you will be shut down. You'll be shamed and you will be fired. It begins, folks, and it's already begun on several college campuses and at many institutions of the left. I mean, you don't have a bunch of Castro supporters and others marching in the streets saying down with freedom. This is not by the protest march, but actually enforcing no freedom of speech happening. And you can look at surveys of millennials on college campus. You'll find a shocking percentage of these young people think that it's perfectly fine that speech be policed. Hurt. And so that people aren't offended. And they're perfectly fine with it. And that's how it begins. People think it's ultimately good and positive and compassionate. We are preventing people from being hurt. We are being offended. These speech codes and this discrimination against certain is a good thing under the guise of goodness and freedom. That's how it happens. And then after a certain passage of time, the powerful forces of government begin to enforce the speech codes with the use of force, but under the cloak of politeness and fairness and decency. One other thing that Damore said on his